This is Chris Walken, and you listen to Brian Newman. Rod and Style Radio. Yow.
You're listening to Rod and Style Radio, the latest podcast brought to you by rodandstyle.com, which is where you can find links for merch, videos from our YouTube channel, along with stories and tech talk from some of the greatest folks in the culture. So grab the wheel, it's about to get wild. You've tuned in to Rod and Style. Welcome to Rod and Style Radio.
Dude, good to be here, guys. Thanks for having me. This is killer.
This is, honestly, man, we have been listening to your albums since Chuck told us that he wanted to have you on the show. And he says hi, by the way.
Oh, dude, Chuck's into everything, man. He's got his hands in all the hot rod pies.
Isn't that the truth? And then, of course, when we had Trent Sherrill on recently too, he was the same. He was like, "You got to check this guy out." And we've been listening to a bunch of it. I dig it, man. I really do.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. It's just like that same, old school traditional music. You know what I mean? Like old school traditional. That's what we always like. You know what I mean? Because that's everything.
Yeah. Did you grow up in it, man? Like, how did you get into like this level of musician?
You know what? I started playing trumpet when I was like 10, and then I started doing my own gigs like I was like 12 or 13, or like coffee houses and stuff, and then like when that whole like swing resurgence started in like the mid 90s,
mm-hmm.
I was playing with like a bunch of punk guys that had sold their punk vests for like zoot suits and shit, so like it was like, so I was playing in a band called the Swagger Kings. That was probably like 93, 94. I started doing that, and that just got me more into jazz music, and I don't know, I just was really into that kind of stuff. I was always into rock and roll and metal, and but just like, I don't know, I just love playing the trumpet and doing fun stuff like that was always good, So I just always loved it, and then I just I gained more of a love for like the tradition of American music, and that's where we are today. You know what I mean?
What? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I grew up in Cleveland, and then I went to college in Cincinnati. I dropped out of school in around 2003 and moved to New York, and just never looked back.
You're like, screw it, I'm done. I'm gonna go do something better.
Yeah, I was there for like 45 years, and I just I learned a lot, but in school and out of school, playing with like a lot of the older musicians and stuff like that around the town, and it was just and I was playing my own gigs there too, and just doing everything you could. At a certain point, you get to where you can't do anything else. You got to make a move.
Yeah, and New York is just like a super inspiring place to be, I would imagine. We're actually going to make a trip up there, so we've never been.
Oh man, yeah. Anytime, you guys got to let me know next time you're coming up. We'll roll out the carpet.
We'll be there in April. So.
Oh no, in April. When in April? Beginning or end?
The end.
The end. I'm going to be in Vegas. Well, I got my residency there. We're playing with Gaga there, like from May. I'll probably be there most of April, so I might miss you. But if I come back May 1st,
okay,
we'll get it again. We'll get it again.
Oh yeah, I'm sure by the time we get there, we're gonna be like, no, we got to come back about 3 more times.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, it's good too, man. Especially now that everything's like opening up, and there's everybody no masks anymore. It's great, man.
So tell us about this residency you got in Vegas, man. That sounds rad.
Yeah, it's fun, man. I started doing it. It's a real throwback to like the lounge era of Las Vegas. Louis Prima, Keely Smith, like that kind of stuff. And it's a late night show at the Nomad Library. It's probably 30-foot ceilings. It has about 20,000 books from John D. Rockefeller's personal collection in there. And it's just the perfect thing. It's showgirls, burlesque. We have magicians and other great, amazing musicians and singers, guitar players. All sorts of different. We've had Robbie Krieger from The Doors. We've had Ashanti. We've had Gaga, of course. But it just runs the gamut. Even if you don't know who they are, if you don't, they don't have a well-known name, that you're just getting the best possible show. And we just bring all these great musicians together and just have a good time, you know?
That sounds amazing, man.
Yeah. yeah. It's good, man. My wife dances with us, man. And you know, she's a big part of the show and big part of what I do and what we do together. And
I saw that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Her costuming, everything is amazing. And to see y'all both on stage, like that's truly the dream right there. Getting to travel and do stuff like that together. Like, my hat's off to y'all.
Yeah, it's really great. You know, and we get to we're in Virginia doing a show together. So when we get out, we can do it together. It's more fun that way. You know what I mean? But she's always helping me behind the scenes too with everything else. You know, that's all. She's the best, man.
That's a true partnership right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and like we get that, you know, totally. You know, there's probably about you know, an hour that you spend with an audience, right, or you know, more. But that's what they see, you know, of your show. But what really goes into it is the other 23 hours of that day that y'all are having to put all that together, I bet.
Yeah, totally, man. And like putting it together so that it makes it look like it's not all planned out. I mean, I think that's the that's the big part of the show, of that show in Vegas especially, is that element of surprise. You know, you never know who you're going to see. It's different every night. So, you know, a lot of work goes into that to make sure that we're ready for whatever when people do show up, you know.
Other than Gaga, who are some of the bigger ones that you've been playing with recently?
You know who came out? The last one came out, Kelsey Ballerini. She's a country singer.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was really great, man. And I like I said, Ashanti came out a couple like before the pandemic. But we're just getting more and more of that now that things are opening up again and people are traveling again to Las Vegas to play. Is, you know, we're catching a lot more of those bands that are on the road. I mean, when we were there, you know, 6 months ago, there was only a few shows that were going on. So now that like people are playing there full force again, there's lots more people in town, lots more bands in town, lots more special guests. Like say Gwen Stefani's band is in town. We know all their horn players. So sometimes a lot of the horn players will come down and play, or their guitar player from, you know, Adele or whoever's around, you know, they come in, or like some of the guys from Bruno Mars's band come down and hang and sit in with us. That's always fun, you know. So we're just trying to get great musicians around, you know, just surround ourselves with that, and it's always a fun time. You never know what's going to happen.
That is wild, man. What's the club that y'all are playing out of when you're playing there?
That's called the Nomad Library at the Park MGM, which is the old Monte Carlo, but it's right across the street from the T-Mobile Center, and where they do all the Dolby Live, where there's a big that's the big theater that's right attached to that's where I play with Gaga. That's why I run her jazz orchestra there.
That's awesome. Yeah, we definitely want to get our listeners following all of that.
Oh yeah, man, totally. Yeah, but don't miss the late night show. Late night show is great, man. We got some dates coming out soon, and we'll be there a lot in April.
That's so cool, man. So tell me a little bit more about Brian growing up and getting into playing the trumpet. Like where were you at with all of this when you were like in high school and trying to figure out what you were going to do with it?
Yeah, man. I always knew what I wanted to do. Like I started playing trumpet when I was 10, and then when I was like 12, I really got into like jazz. I started doing this jazz this summer camp or whatever, because I was goofing off in band, and like I didn't know what it was called at the time, but I was improvising, you know, in the symphony band or whatever. Like, so you're supposed to play what's on the page, but I wasn't doing that. I kept getting in trouble, and then the teacher finally was like, "Hey, man, you should take this jazz class in the summer. It's 6 weeks long." And basically, he taught us the 12-bar blues. So it was like the first week was the 1 chord, the second week was the 4 chord, the third week was the 5 chord, and then the rest of the 3 weeks we played that 12-bar blues pattern. You know, and that's the basis for everything that we listen to today, everything that's been before us. You know what I mean? So it was a really good foundation. And then I got into Miles and Dizzy and Chet Baker, and from all that, and then we started playing at coffee houses, and I started booking my own band. And then finally I was playing a Italian restaurant like Thursday, Friday, Saturday when I was like 14. I just knew that I wanted to be a New York City musician. Like I just wanted to live here and play and just grow from there. You know, like it's cheesy, but it's like Frank always said, it's like you make it here, you can do anything you want. And it's true. And we because of all the hard work we put in here, we get to travel, we get to do the things that we love to do, and you know, grow and keep getting better every day, you know.
Dude, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
What you mentioned, Frank, what are some of your other influences that era?
Oh man, I love Sammy Davis. I think he was like the most talented one out of the three. I mean, he sang, he danced, he played the drums. He just had. They were all. I mean, of course, I'm not going to talk shit about any of those guys, but like, but I just for me, Sammy just like, man, he was just the man, bro. Like I don't know, he was so talented. He was so technically good at what he did, and just his singing, his delivery, his voice. Like, he's one of my favorites. Like I said earlier, like Chet Baker was a really favorite of mine. Just because when you're learning an instrument and you're trying to like emulate somebody, it's like, like if you want to sound like Van Halen, like you can't just go straight to sounding like Van Halen. You got to like practice like some other shit that's like easier. You know what I mean? Like
you got to grow into that.
Yeah, you got to work into that. So that was like what Chet Baker was for me. Like he played very simple melodies on the trumpet. It was easy to cop. Like I could play along with him and him and Miles too. Like both of those guys, like you could play along with them on the trumpet and just, or even, singing with them, because I'm a singer too. So like I would sing along with Chet in the car, play trumpet along with him, like, in my room, and just practice nonstop. But those were really good because it just kind of made me focus on the easy stuff so that I could build up on top of that. I guess that. Yeah, but there's so many. Sarah Vaughan, there's so many great, and then Link Ray and Tom Waits, like you got on your shirt. Like there were so many bands that came out later. I mean, not came out later, but that I found later. You know what I mean? I think as a child of the '90s, it was like before when I was playing trumpet and listening to Chet Baker and Dizzy and all this stuff. There was also like Pearl Jam and Nirvana and NoFX and Pantera and what I mean. There was all these fucking bands that were like just like. And that's all part of our sound now. It's like everything like Thin Lizzy, like that's one of my favorite bands of all time. Like it's just doing songs like that, or even just, it's just like punk jazz. I don't know. I hate the word jazz, but I just like, it's like this low, like it's just like, you got to go for it. You're not like pussyfooting around. You're going for it. You're being strong. You're coming out at it with conviction. And I don't know if I'm rambling, but
no, it's perfect,
like,
man. It's perfect.
All the influences of that of a kid of the '90s that grew up in. I mean, I was born in the '80s, and formative years in the '90s and high school, and all that stuff was around. And we just all listened to whatever we could, dude.
Yeah, absolutely, and hanging out in record stores and.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't so much that you would go out and download a song and listen to it. It was like you had to experience it by grabbing that record and grabbing that CD or cassette tape. Whatever era these '80s kids that are.
yeah, totally.
The tough part was you had to find it first.
Yeah, you had to find it.
It's true. I didn't have an older brother to show me what was going on, so you just had to like get out there and like do it. There were so many other experiences that you experienced during that time. I was like, my dad would drop me off at like this place called the Grog Shop in Cleveland, and it was literally like a real punk rock bar in Cleveland in the '90s, and it was not like I saw guys shoot up there. Like I was 14. I was like 14, 15 years old. Like that shit that I shouldn't have seen, but had I maybe not seen it, maybe I would have gotten involved in it more. You know what I mean? I don't know. It was like I saw how the guys were acting on all these drugs, and I was like, man, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't smoking weed yet, but I stick to the pot and the Budweiser.
Yeah, right. For real. Yeah. Damn, we're gonna get on a trip of drugs here, and we don't need to go down that road. Don't need to go down that road.
No, definitely not. I'm sorry if I struck a chord.
No.
Always in recovery,
what
right?
Kids say triggered.
Yeah, triggered.
Yeah. Oh man. Now, one of the things, I definitely wasn't on a level that you're on, but I was a musician for a little while and a front man for a band. As a front runner of a band and doing, and being in that spotlight, the spotlight doesn't turn off on you when the music stops. Like you still you can't have dead air. You gotta talk, you gotta interact with people and stuff like that. What as your personality, like, were you able to do that easily as a kid, or did you have stage fright at any point with any of it?
No, not really. I always just love talking to people, you know what I mean? And I just treat everybody like, like what we're all human beings. It's like I love being on stage, but I also love being off stage. And like even talking to you guys now, like everybody that I come in contact with, I want to be humble, I want to be kind, and I want to be, you know what I mean? Like just make people feel like good about themselves, or good about what's going on, whatever. It's like my job as a band leader is to make people forget about their bullshit for if only 90 minutes or a couple hours or whatever. It's just like so me being cool and humble and humility having is tantamount. It's like that's what and I don't know. I was just always good at talking to people. So when I get on stage, it's like it makes it more fun. And I don't know, honestly, like the confidence thing. It's like when I moved to New York, I did it so much. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like in New York, it's like you're swinging a bat like in the batter's box with like one of those like donut weights on it. Like you're kind of warming up in New York, and you do it every night. You're doing it every night. You're going on stage every night, whether the crowd is hip to it or they're not or whatever. You're just warming up that bat, and then you go off, and you're putting in those hours, and you're getting that time, and it makes it easier when situations happen or when you're stuck for words or you know what I mean. I don't know. It's always sometimes I still get stuck for words on stage, but it's like you got to do something with it. You got to make something happen.
Well, yeah, seeing your videos that you post and your live feeds and stuff like that we've picked up on here and there, because of course we haven't gotten a chance to actually see you live yet.
Doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
You look absolutely relaxed on stage, like that's your home, that's where you need to be at, and it's awesome, man. It plays through completely.
Oh, well, thanks, man. Lane, I think that goes back to just doing it 100,000 times. You know what I mean? Like you really like if I didn't do it so many times, I wouldn't have that kind of like comfortability, and I am nervous sometimes. I get anxious. I just want to like get on stage. You know what I mean? It's so I just have to have like a shot and a beer sometimes to just chill the fuck out.
That sounds about right. That sounds like me anytime I'm on stage competing for pinup contests. Like I'm like in the back, everyone's like, "Oh, you look great," and then I'm telling him, "I'm like, fuck, I'm nervous. I don't want to fucking do this. Like I should just walk away now."
She quits about 10 times.
Yeah, I quit about 10 times before I walk on there.
Exactly. Then you get on and everything's fine. See, that's what it's about.
Pretty much. Then you just feel it all ease, and you're like, okay. I can do it.
Yeah, she kills it, man. Speaking of, man,
that's awesome. That's awesome, baby. I can see that soon.
Yeah, speaking of wives that kill it, man, how did you meet yours?
Man, we were doing. She runs the New York Burlesque Festival. She's a producer of the New York Burlesque Festival here in New York, and this is about 2003 or 4 when I first moved here, and I was playing as a sideman in another band, in a burlesque band. I'm sorry, there was a burlesque troupe called the. What was it called? Big Apple Burlesque or whatever. And I was the trumpet player, and she was the producer and performer. And I saw her there, and I just always thought she was a great businesswoman and amazing performer and hot. You know what I mean? So like we had went out a couple times. We went out once, like a couple years after that, and it didn't really work out. But then a couple years later, about 4 years later, we ended up going out again, and it stuck.
Oh yeah, timing.
Now we're stuck together. No, it's great. It's great. We have such a good time, man.
And then y'all also have a little one, right?
Yeah, she's Cecilia is her name. She's 6. She's in school. She's upstairs right now. I think they're reading some books and getting ready for bed.
We have a little one that's about to be 6.
Oh, nice.
April 27th.
Mm-hmm. A boy or a girl?
A girl. Her name's Penelope.
Oh, that's beautiful. We got to get the kids together one of these days.
Oh, yeah.
Same age. That's amazing.
No, because I was looking, I did a little stalking. I was looking at y'all's Instagrams, and I was like, they have a little one, too. I was like, there's no way that she's older than Penny or Penny's, like, that much younger than her. I was like, they look the same size and everything. But, yeah, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, that's great, man. I'm sure they would love that.
Oh, yeah. No, Penny loves traveling. She loves going everywhere. She loves going to car shows and doing all kinds of things. Any reason to get glammed up with mom. It's pretty much it.
That sounds good, baby. That's good. Same with us over here.
Yeah. Does she take after mom a lot?
Yeah, she does. Both of us. I mean, she's, we didn't even ask her to She wanted to sing, but she came and sang with us in the show in Vegas this last run we were there. She took a nap voluntarily during the day because our show starts at like midnight. So she came downstairs and got up on stage and sang Country Roads with us.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really something else, man. She walked up, Angie told her, hey, sit with Nona and Pop Pop. My in-laws were there helping us, because we thought we were going to need a babysitter at night.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out she went to the show every night with us. So it was like she took a nap during the day, went to the late show, and hung out till like 2:30 in the morning, 2:33 in the morning. Man, I was nuts, man. It was nuts. But she loved it. She loves being in the dressing room. I mean, the showgirls dressing her up and, putting feathers in her hair and, just like headdresses and it's like she wants to be in the show, she'd say anyway, Angie told her to sit with Nona and Pop Pop because they were sitting near the front. And she said, when Daddy calls you up, just come up from your table. She said, no, Mom, I want to walk from the back because the spotlight follows you from the back of the room to the front of the stage.
Oh, I love it.
So she wanted to come in like everybody else did. So that was unprompted. It was crazy.
It's
really
in the
funny.
blood, obviously.
Yeah. He said, can't get it out, man. Can't get rid of it. That's for sure. That's for sure.
I saw that you're getting into hot rods at all, like a little bit. It looked like you're working on something. Tell us about your love of cars.
Man, yeah, it started when I was a kid. My dad always had. My dad worked for. He was a used car salesman back when I was growing up in the '80s, and he always had something cool. We didn't have a ton of money, but he always had like some kind of like weird fucking like old Jaguar or like 4-door or something or another. I remember he had a '72 Chrysler New Yorker that was freaking huge that I just loved. You know what I mean?
Big old boat.
Yeah, and then like as normal with like. Living in a Midwest town or like you guys down in Texas, like there's not much to do besides like drive around, maybe race or whatever, so it's like I started, then he had a few Corvettes like later in life. I started drag racing his Corvettes at the track when he knew about it and when he didn't. He would come sometimes and sometimes I would just go, you know what I mean? It's like, Dad, I got a date tonight. I would go to the track, but I always loved cars. And then I got into like, I drove like a Honda for a little while. I really was into that, customizing that. And then for something just clicked. Then I bought a Buick Riviera. I had a 79. First I had a 95 Buick Riviera. Then I had a 79 Buick Riviera. And the cars have just gotten older, as time went on. Then I had a 71 Oldsmobile that I did airbag suspension, like lace roof. It was like a really old school, like Los Angeles, like West Coast cruiser. And then, man, but I bought this I had a Thunderbird. I had a '66 Fleetwood. I've had cars all my whole life, but I really fell in love with these flathead motors and just these old Fords. I was never a Ford guy, and I'm not hating. I just was never. I always drove GM cars, and then I bought a 51 Mercury with a flathead motor in it. And I just was obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with we hopped it up, did all the work ourselves, you know what I mean? And it was great to learn how to do it on that. And now I'm welding and we bought a Model A. I bought a 1928 Model A, and I'm building that with my buddy Russ Monty from New Jersey.
Yeah, I had Russ on a old podcast of mine years ago, man.
Shit, man.
I've followed him for a bunch of years. We've been friends, and when you posted up a picture of the Model A and tagged him in it, I was like, man, that is a small world.
Yeah, it's funny. Like Rob Ida, the shop that he works over at Rob's. Works with Rob Ida over there, and Rob had seen me on Instagram, and him and his wife and Russ, they came to see a show, and I happened to have the 51 the 51 Merc there tonight. Let's just say that, the Merc, and they were just so surprised that I was driving that from Brooklyn to Manhattan. It was 6-volt, it's just original flathead motor, 3-speed. You know how it is, no power, anything. I just love driving cars. I love that Merc, man. So me and Russ, really kind of struck up a friendship, and Rob too. So we started putting stuff together for the Mercury, and then Russ has been so helpful, man. Just like shit, my knowledge, I can unscrew bolts, I can do whatever, I can put stuff together. You know what I mean? But his knowledge, has really helped me grow into into being able to do most things myself, and with a little help from your friends. You know what I mean? That's this
Absolutely.
thing that's why I just love hot rodding so much, and that's why it's just such a great thing. And so now we're starting to build cars together. So we started by hopping up the Mercury, which is just a simple, Fenton heads. I polished them, I painted them. We got a Fenton intake. We ordered a couple 94. I'm sorry, we ordered a couple Holly 94s from another friend of Russ's, Ross Racing in Ohio, Tony Lombardo, and just put it together, and just built it up, and now it's driving great. You know what I mean? Driving great. No more 6-volt, and now we're on to the next project. We found a 1928 Roadster, and we pulled the body off, and now we're waiting for a Bowling Brothers frame. We ordered a frame so we can still run the fenders and everything on there and just keep it real badass. But there's going to be some really nice touches on this car that are going to be really killing. Russ has a Cadillac motor we're going to use, and I just ordered an old Edmunds intake with 2 barrels from a guy on Instagram that we know, and it's all coming together, man. We're waiting for the frame. We got about 6 more weeks. Russ is going to pick it up at the Lone Star Throwdown, so I think you're going to see. Is that what it's called, right? Lone Star Throwdown?
No, we have the Throwdown, but you're probably thinking of the Roundup.
I'm sorry, Roundup Throwdown. It's at the Roundup. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you see Russ carrying a frame, it's ours.
What's funny is
help him out.
Roundup weekend is actually the weekend we'll be in New York.
Oh no shit! So you're gonna I know. Oh man, that's a bummer. You guys are lucky though, man. You got so many good car shows, and you could do it almost all year round down there, man. Like it's like I don't know, man.
Yeah, how everybody stops doing car shows up north, in the snow and shit. The cold is the prime time for us, because we're sweating in 200-degree weather trying to start our cars, and they're overheating, so we don't do it in the summer.
No, totally. I would rather that. I'd rather do it in the cold. If they didn't put so much damn salt on the roads up here, we would drive it all the time. It's that's the bane of East Coast hot rodders' existence. Fucking salt.
Right. Anybody above that rust belt.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
Oh man, and what's crazy, man, is I absolutely love the fact that you're into cars and driving cars as much as you are up there in New York, because the city isn't known for being really easy to drive in, man.
Yeah, I mean, one of my first gigs when I first moved to New York, I did a lot of jobs, but I took a job on Craigslist. It was like $380 a week after taxes, but I worked for this this company called Cooper Classic Cars, and they specialize in super high end Mercedes. The guy's name is Elliot Kuker. He used to have a show on ESPN back in the day, all about cars back in the 90s, 2000. Good guy, you know what I mean? But I'd show up to work and he'd be like, all right, take that 63 Mercedes-Benz low grill out to Queens to get polished or to get some work done on it. So I would drive that out there and talk about driving $140,000 car through Manhattan, and just stuff like that. And then we do film. He would rent out some of the cars for film shoots, so you get to drive the cars out to film shoots. So I don't know. I just always love drive. Plus, forget it. Fuck it. That's what insurance is for. You know what I mean?
I love it.
I fucking Haggerty $100 a year. I'm gonna wreck my car. Let's go, bro. Let's go. We'll get another one. You know what I mean?
God, just wrap it around a telephone pole.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. You're never really going over 45, 50 miles an hour in the city. You know what I mean?
No.
And sometimes you're in traffic. You know what I mean? That was one thing we had to do on the Merc though. Me and Russ built a fan shroud for the radiator, because that flathead motor, in traffic in New York, and when it's hot, you're talking about, man, freaking overheating. We got stuck in the tunnel once when it was still 6-volt, and the car overheated. It died in the battery tunnel, and then me and my wife and my daughter were in the car, and my wife is out. We're pushing. You know what I mean? I'm steering. We pushed it 1.5 miles out of the tunnel.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then because it's only 6-volt, it was vapor. It was vaporizing the gas,
yep.
and so it couldn't go anymore. So. And then by the time I cranked it over too many times, by the time I cranked it over to work, the battery was dead because it was only 6 volts. So we had to push it out. And then we did the old school motorcycle trick where you just touch the touch the battery terminals while it's running, and then just like crank it and take them off. And we were good, and we were off, and the car ran great the rest of the day. So what are you gonna do, man?
Right.
Adventures.
Oh yeah, that's where we've gotten most of our experience, was on the side of the road.
Yep.
Yeah.
The first car I had was I had a 1960 Thunderbird, and we drove it 4 hours down all the way. Like, so we got it from Houston, and we drove it all the way down to San Antonio, and he had my daily driver. And we had no idea if this car was going to run. We had no idea how far it would make it. I was like, fuck it, we're just going to go. I drove it took about 5 hours to get home, but I was driving in 110 degree weather. Like, I got all sunburnt. I was full of sweat. The car died the minute I got here, and I was like, I don't even care.
Yeah,
it made it.
It died in the driveway. Yeah. Like, we couldn't ask for a better situation.
What was that? Was this 1960? Was that still the 390 in there? The FE?
The FE, that's what they came with. This one had a Windsor 351 in it.
Oh, nice.
Newer
cool.
engine.
So it was already upgraded. That's cool.
Yeah, my 59 Buick is the engine's original.
Yeah, everything's original in the Buick.
Well, that's because it's a GM. I'm sorry. It's because it's a GM motor.
Still runs like a top too.
Yeah, it's good. No, I don't know. I had a 61 Thunderbird and that FE motor. Like, I don't know. I hated it, bro. I hated that motor.
Yeah, our friends, they have a Galaxy, the same thing, the FE motor, and they just want to junk it.
It's so slow and like sloppy. You know what I mean? It's like a friend that drinks too much, you know?
And then all the Ford people are just scratching their eyes out right now listening to this.
I love Fords. I have two. I'm just saying, that specific motor, it's like, I don't know. Maybe somebody knows something that can help that motor out. I don't know.
And then our friends in Dallas that do another podcast, they're all about the Y-block Fords, you know? And
that's a kick-ass motor, though.
Yeah,
like, I don't
absolutely.
think that, like, that's like that. I don't know, something about that 390 from that T-Bird that I had, and that year that would have been in your T-Bird. Like, that's just every time I see a guy with the car or a guy or a gal with the engine, he's always just like, man, fuck this fucking engine. This fucking like I want to put a Windsor in it or whatever. You know what I mean? Put a Y-block in it. It's
right. Well, man, it has been absolutely awesome hanging out with you on the podcast. Is there any folks out there you'd like to give some shout outs to for, inspiration of getting you to this point in your life?
Oh man, I want to thank like Hudson Joe Baffardi on Instagram, Russ Monty, of course, man, he's the man. Rob Ida, I really Ralph Mesa, the Blue Martini. He's really helps. Like, I hit him up and he's like, yo man, if I need California parts or or something like that, like he helps me get some shit together, and of course Scratch down there and all those guys and Chuck and Trent and everybody, man, and you guys, man, shouting out everybody, man, the whole hot rod community. And I just want to apologize for everyone with a Ford FE motor. I don't mean to shit on you, but it's okay.
If you own a Ford FE motor, feel free to write into Rod and Style and let Chuck know that you would like to donate it.
Yeah. Experiments.
Only if it's a good one. If it's a really good one.
Oh man, we do really appreciate you being on the show, and we appreciate all of our listeners out there that are tuning in and checking us out on all the podcast channels. If you're listening to us on Apple, definitely go on there and rate and review the show. And if you're listening to us on either Apple or Spotify, be sure to download the episodes, because that goes a long way for us. So we definitely love the fact that y'all are digging what we're doing so far. So keep it wild.
Tweet. Heck your fucking eyes out. For free. Talking to me all wrong. Wrong tone. Tweet. Wrong tone. Tweet. Wrong tone. Tweet.